Hi, I'm Roshun Povaiah, and you're listening to Express Podcasts. Every year, thousands of ambitious students across India prepare for one of the most challenging MBA entrance exams in the country, the Xavier Aptitude Test. But it's not just another management exam. Over the years, it has built a reputation for being a true test of smart thinking, not just speed. And at the heart of this exam is one of India's most respected business schools, XLRI, the Xavier School of Management. Starting with today's episode, the Indian Express, in collaboration with XLRI, brings to you a series where we will discuss how for decades, XLRI has been synonymous with academic excellence and leadership that's deeply rooted in purpose. And what sets XAT apart is the way it evaluates future leaders. Unlike most entrance tests, XAT places a strong emphasis on decision-making, ethical reasoning, and real-world problem-solving. In many ways, it reflects the kind of leaders the world actually needs. To give you a sense of scale, last year alone, over 1 lakh candidates applied for XAT. But here's what's interesting, beyond the numbers, is that XAT at its core believes in creating not just efficient, but also empathetic managers. In today's conversation, we'll unpack what really differentiates XAT from other management exams, how students can approach it strategically, and why it continues to matter in shaping India's leadership talent. Joining us today is Professor Rahul K. Shukla, Convenor XAT and Admissions, XLRI Jamshedpur, who has spent years guiding students through not just the exam, but also the journey that follows. So XLRI has been a pioneer in management education for over 75 years. So before we talk about the test itself, what does XLRI stand for in India's B-school ecosystem today?
It's a very pertinent question to start with. I guess if you talk about management education in India, XLRI is the first name which people will always remember. For a simple reason, we were the first school to start in India. We started in 1949, much before many of the B schools which are currently contributing to the Indian higher education. Along with that, the kind of values we carry, for instance, our core values are fairness and integrity. So as an institute, we focus on fairness and integrity. We believe in giving back to our community, and we have created amazing global business leaders who are also contributing to the economy in general. Also inside India also, they have contributed to nation building. At the same time, all the leaders who are still associated with us because they are our alums, they believe in contributing back to the community wherever they are. So I guess that's what differentiates us, and we are always pioneers. We have been doing lots of innovative things, especially when it comes to education. We keep experimenting with our curriculum. We keep bringing novelty in pedagogy. Along with pedagogy and curriculum, we also keep doing lots of activities inside the campus, outside the campus for the people who are in Jamshedpur or in Delhi, and also people who are beyond our campuses. So I guess this feeling of giving back to the community for the greater good is something which is guiding us and which is also differentiating us from others.
Okay, that's a strong legacy. And a big part of this journey is the XAT, the gateway to XLRI. Could you just unpack that a bit for our listeners?
So XAT, we call it Xavier Aptitude Test. It started way back. So it is also a legacy exam. And best part is that this exam is considered as one of the best exams in India. And good thing is that we differentiate ourselves in this test as well. When I say in this test, what I mean is, if you look at our structure of Xavier Aptitude Test, we have verbal ability and logical reasoning section. We have quantitative aptitude and data interpretation section. Along with these two sections, we have a special section called decision making, which you would not find in any of the exams, right? And we started it because we wanted people who could make decisions based on the given resources, so that tomorrow when they become business leaders, they should have this skill too. Of course, we help them during their programs here also to develop their decision-making skills. But those who are good at, and we pick them up, definitely it makes a difference when they go out of XLRI to work for corporates. So this is what differentiates. And at the same time, we also have one section called general knowledge. So we want to understand if our students or our candidates who are planning to join XLRI, do they have general awareness? Definitely preparing for tests is one thing, or working for a corporate or working or studying in a college is one thing. But at the same time, you also need to be aware of what is going on around the country or across the world. So that part also we tried to test. So students take this test. Once they are shortlisted, they are invited for our GDPI, group discussion and personal interviews. There they have to perform well. Then we create a merit along with other components like, for instance, their background, where they studied, what kind of education do they carry. So those components are added with these scores, and that's how we are try to arrive at the best talents who can come and study at XLRI.
Great. And for those who are new to this test, when is XAT conducted each year, and what should candidates keep in mind about the key dates and the A1 deadlines?
So XAT gets conducted on the first Sunday of every new year. So that's what we are doing for many years. And this year we are conducting it on January 4th. And the important dates which people have to keep in mind is we are closing our admissions registrations or applications on December 5th. So keep these two dates in mind. At the same time, I would suggest that we keep conducting mock tests simultaneously in this particular period when people are applying for XAT. So as soon as you apply for XAT, you get access to the mock tests, and we keep sharing the dates on our website. We also keep sharing the dates through advertisements. So I would say that be watchful about such dates, but December 5 and January 4, they both are very important.
Right, very important dates for everyone to keep in mind. Why should a candidate really consider taking the XAT? What kinds of opportunities open up after it, both at XLRI and beyond?
So, good thing about taking XAT is that XAT is one of the exams which has been approved by AICTE to be shared with B schools to get admitted, right? And it's one of the best exams. And what happens is when you submit your XAT score to other B schools along with XLRI. XLRI, of course, we have our students purely based on their XAT scores when they invite them for interviews. But in other B schools, they treat our students differently. So there is a separate merit list for XAT students, and then there is a different list for those who come through other entrance exams. Why? Because they believe that XAT tests additional skills like decision making and general knowledge or general awareness. So that understanding helps the institutions to understand how well these kids or these candidates will perform in their colleges. And that's how they get into grade B schools. And beyond these B schools, because all the associates B schools who are accepting XAT scores, they have their own fan base in the industry. So they get opportunities to work in amazing corporates. In fact, if I talk about corporates and in the context of XLRI, if I talk about corporates, when they come to XLRI for summer internship programs majorly are after their first term or very close to the end of their first term, where companies come recruit our students for 2 months internship, and then they try to understand if those students can be good as employees. And from there, they offer them the pre-placement interviews opportunities or pre-placement offers opportunities. So those are actually given to candidates. So whenever we talk to these recruiters, because most of them are our students also, they say that our organization believes that in XLRI, when we go, most of these students come through XAT. And because they have taken XAT and have been able to make it to XLRI, of course, they are really great. If you have a different talent, if you come through XAT, of course, there are better opportunities in corporates for you waiting.
Okay. But many of our listeners are also comparing other exams like CAT, SNAP, NMAT, you name it. Could you tell us a little more about how these compare with the XAT?
So I would say that there are two sections in XAT which are mostly similar to the sections of other tests, right? Like there's a section called verbal ability and logical reasoning. You would find this section in other exams as well. Or you would find quantitative aptitude and data interpretation. That is also there in other exams. But how XAT is different? Definitely, I will talk about verbal ability and logical reasoning first. If you look at our question paper, most of our questions are application based. This is the first thing we follow. Number two, whenever we give any passage, we have also a message embedded in that passage. So that there is always some message, so that when you finish your verbal ability section, you should have some takeaway from our question paper itself, some learning. So deliberately we keep such passages which provide learning to our candidates. This is the second thing we follow. And third unique thing about verbal section is that none of the exams or tests give poem in their verbal ability. We give them a poem. And the objective behind giving a poem is We want them to appreciate not only the prose comprehensions, but also poetry. When it comes to quantitative aptitude and data interpretation, almost all our questions are application based. We avoid giving formula based questions. We want kids who can understand, who can think. And that's why our exam becomes unique. And along with these two sections, we have a third section, which I already mentioned, called decision making. And finally, we have general knowledge or general awareness. And best part of that too, that we have a clear distinction in our general knowledge section. What is that distinction? We ask 8 static questions and 12 current affairs. So it's not that everything is hodgepodge or mixed and students are confused what to prepare, what not to prepare. If students have kept their ears and eyes open, they would get to know what is going on. If they are reading newspapers, they are aware of what is happening in India or abroad. It's easy for them to handle those 12 current affairs questions. And those 8 static questions are also majorly from India.
But one thing that I keep hearing from a lot of aspirants is that XAT is tough. But is it really? Is XAT as difficult as it's made out to be, or would you call it a smart exam instead?
So this is the question I'm actually coming across since I've taken over as admissions chair or convener of XAT. So why people call it difficult, I don't understand, because our objective is never to make any test difficult. We never believe in making the test difficult for students, because we are aware that if a candidate is investing his or her time and energy, he or she should not get surprised by the difficulty of questions, right? Our objective is to provide them with analytical questions. The questions where they will have to apply analysis, where they will have to use their critical thinking skills, or where they will have to look at a problem from multiple perspectives. Our questions are not formula based. Our questions are not based on the knowledge you are already aware of. You will have to think in the situation and you will have to arrive at an answer using the resources given in that situation. So our exam makes people think. The good side of this type of questions is that people who don't come, for instance, from mathematics background, or who are from, like, let's assume that they are from humanities background. For them also, these questions are easy to handle because they are testing your thinking skills. They're not testing your knowledge in maths or in verbal. So I guess that's why it is not difficult at all. It is a smart test. And that's why we keep calling it smart test, because it tests the analytical and logical skills of candidates.
Right. So that's how they learn to take the tough decisions also. So that naturally brings us to the big question that everyone has, which is preparation. How should candidates approach preparation? Should it be steady and ongoing, or should it be sharp, focused prep, closer to the exam? Would that also work?
Normally what happens, that is conducted on the first Sunday of every new year. So by that time, most of the exams are over. So what students believe is that when exams is at the end of the year or in the beginning of the year, we would actually focus on it when we would come very near to that exam. My suggestion or message to all those students or candidates is your preparation should be ongoing. You are preparing for CAT, amazing. You are preparing for NMAT, amazing. You are preparing for SNAP, amazing. But also simultaneously keep taking at least one mock test on a daily basis of XAT as well. For a simple reason, because if you are taking tests, lots of things you learn consciously, but there are other lots of things which you also learn subconsciously. Why? Because they are going into your gut, which we normally call as a gut feeling, like, right? So the author Gert Gagarin talks about it. So when you keep practicing, the knowledge which is not visible, that is somewhere going into your subconscious understanding. So once you finish other tests and come closer to XAT, now when you are completely focusing on XAT, that subconscious knowledge is also assisting you. So keep practicing verbal ability, data interpretation, or logical reasoning, or quantitative aptitude and decision making simultaneously along with other preparations or other test preparations. If you want to really learn about XAT, my suggestion would be the best resources, our question papers. All our question papers are available on our website. And along with that, if you are registered, you would also get access to our mock test. And we conduct our mock test on the same platform where we conduct our main exam.
Okay. And once the test results come in, How does XLRI use the XAT results across its different programs? What do you really look for in a candidate?
So actually, that is just one of the components to be used for evaluating candidates. It helps us in shortlisting students for our GDPI rounds. And after that, students are on their own in the sense that will assist, but will not assist much. So when it comes to our GD and PI, we want students who are team players, because tomorrow when you work in organizations, you are not working for yourself, you are working for everybody. So we look for a person who is a team player. We look for a person who is analytical and logical. We look for a person who is analytical and logical, but also is sensitive towards others. We look for a person who carries the values of fairness and integrity. Along with that, we also look for a person who is good in communicating his or her ideas freely, openly, and ask critical questions wherever it is needed. So I guess this is the profile we look forward to. And whenever they are coming for interviews or getting interviewed at XLRI, or they're sitting through our GDs, they have to convey their values in such a way that even their evaluators can relate their values with our values. And along with that, you need to have all the important skills which are required for any sound manager, like critical thinking skills, fairness and integrity, logical skills, the person who is sensitive. I guess if you have it, you can always be welcomed at XLRI.
Of course, XLRI is the biggest name linked with XAT, but it's also not the only one. Beyond XLRI, what kinds of colleges and programs across India accept your XAT scores?
So there are 250 plus colleges where XAT score is accepted. This is the good news. And I cannot name, because if I name, I will actually appear biased, right? But I would say that if you go to our website, we have given all the names of the B schools that are directly associated and indirectly associated with us. Please check their profiles. They have their own unique programs. XAT gives you access to their 2-year MBA programs as well as a 1-year MBA program. So if you want to get into executive education, you can take their 1-year MBA. If you want to have proper academic MBA, then you can go for their 2-year MBA programs, right? Then there are different functions in which they have their own MBAs. For instance, human resource management itself is a flagship program at XLRI. Similarly, there are other schools which have programs like programs in business analytics, or they have programs in supply chain management, or they have programs in finance. So try to understand what is your objective in doing MBA, understand your objective, check our website, look for those colleges where the programs which would help you in achieving those objectives. If those programs are offered, apply for those programs. And of course, you will be in a right place, and that will help you in achieving the goals you have set for yourself.
Great. And of course, that reach matters in a country which is as diverse as India. So, how does XAT ensure it attracts and supports candidates from different academic, regional, and socioeconomic backgrounds? Why is that important today?
XLRI always believes in bringing all types of students to campus and to campuses through XAT. When I say through XAT, we try to develop diversity in our question paper itself. So if you look at our XAT paper, I will talk about one kind of diversity. For instance, mostly business school tests are accused of tilting towards or supporting the engineers. This is what is an accusation. There is nothing wrong in having engineers on board, right? But that's how we are accused of. But if you look at XAT, we have definitely a quantitative aptitude and logic, data interpretation section. But we also have a section where you don't have to be very good with numbers or your mathematical intelligence, even if it is average. It can help in getting into good B school. That's called decision making. And that has deliberately been kept so that we can cater even to those candidates who come from different backgrounds. If not engineering, they can come from commerce background, or they can come from humanities. They can come from even food technology. It depends upon whatever background they come. But this section will help in getting a good percentile. Number two, even when we make questions, we make sure that we don't give those contexts which may not be understood by a particular gender or a particular background candidates. I cannot talk about something which is highly elite in the US in India, right? To which some candidates in India would also have access to, but many would not have access to. So we keep our context also very grounded and those contexts are relatable to anybody. So when it comes to content of our question papers, when it comes to the sections, we definitely take care of people who come from tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, right? And that also somewhere takes care of people who are economically backward, those who have not been so privileged in getting the education. So we try to keep experimenting, and we do difficulty analysis, which is actually difficulty is just a metaphor. We try to understand what kind of questions get attempted, what kind of questions get attempted by tier 1 city candidates, tier 2 city candidates. So we keep understanding every question through our analysis, so that if one particular question is only attempted by tier 1 city candidates and not by tier 2 city or tier 3 city candidates, in that case, we would try to scrap that question in the next test.
Okay, so let's just zoom out a little now. Sometimes people question whether an MBA is still worth it, especially when the job market is so tough. What's your take on the perception that MBAs don't always deliver strong returns, and how does XLRI position itself over here?
So coming from a B school, I would say MBA is always worth it. But it's not just because I come from B school or I teach at B school, therefore MBA is always worth it. Of course, the kind of skills you develop after you come to a B school, those skills you cannot easily develop in a workplace, right? Definitely workplace trains you well. They give you the best experience. They provide you a knowledge or understanding of what you are in. But there, mostly your knowledge or your understanding is of a particular function only. So if I'm working in a particular vertical for last 20 years, I know how it works. I will know inside out of this vertical really well. But when it comes to connecting my vertical with other verticals, it would be very difficult for me because I don't have understanding of other functions. And this is a bigger problem because I may end up becoming selfish about my vertical. But we also have to understand that if my vertical is doing well and other verticals are not doing well, the organization is struggling. So this holistic understanding of how business operates, the holistic understanding of what I am doing in my vertical is contributing to the overall growth of the organization is very important. At the same time, at a lower level, you have to take lots of decisions which have to be taken on the spot, where your boss may not be around, where people who would help you may not be around. How could you take those decisions? And when you are taking those decisions, later when you would be, if decisions go wrong, you're pulled up, for instance, by your leadership or higher ups, how would you defend your decisions? I guess the logic you have to bring in when you're successful or you fail, the logic you bring in decision making, you can only learn or develop when you come to a B school, along with the holistic understanding of how business works.
Right. But placements is also a very big, talking point in the MBA market. While IIMs are known for their placements, where does XLRI stand?
Our placement is superb. If you look at our placement reports of previous years, they are always available on our website. We are doing wonders. The good thing is XLRI is the oldest B school. We are in HR for so many years now. Just last year, we celebrated our platinum jubilee. We have HRs or our students all over the country and abroad, right? We have a strong alum base. And when you have alums, they are the huge support. Definitely, we provide them the best talent. That's why they support. But there is a support from the industry. We give them the best candidates. They reach out to us. And because we have best candidates, we have our own unique exam, and there are alums sitting with outside there in the industry. Our placements never have a problem. So, of course, and then the documents which we upload on our website in or around placements, they are supporting what I'm claiming.
Okay, and before we wrap this up, I'd like to ask you some little bit of motivation for our listeners. If you had to give one piece of advice to aspirants who are preparing for XAT 2026, what would it be?
My piece of advice would be, this is slightly on a funny side, but important. Now, stop watching reels. I will tell you why. Because I'm not saying you completely abolish watching reels. Like few minutes in a day is fine. But if you're spending time in watching reels, you're training your brain to be engaged visually or using your ears, but you're also training your brain not to register the information. When you watch reels, you get dopamine shots, you enjoy, but you don't register. And that's how you get into what is called brain rot. Develop critical thinking skills, read, and read. The more you read, the better you become at critical thinking. It helps in cracking any test or in getting grades or getting marks in your colleges. at the same time doing well in your interviews or group discussions. Develop your critical thinking skills. Don't get into brain rot process. It is good to get bored. It is good to struggle. It is good to forget. But if you're doing everything for fun and pleasure and you are getting pleasure after every 30 seconds, your brain is gradually switching into brain rot situation where you may not be able to remember anything, but you would enjoy. So you're sitting through classes, you are seeing a professor, you're looking at professor, but your brain is not registering anything. Please develop your critical thinking skills by reading, and reading. And when you're preparing, practice, and practice.
You were listening to Professor Rahul K. Shukla, Convenor, XAT and Admissions, XLRI Jamshedpur, in our first episode in collaboration with XLRI. This episode was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar, hosted by me, Roshun, Povaiah, and produced by Niharika, Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone who you think will like it and share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet to us at Express Podcasts or write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.